It's becoming more common. An increasing number of so-called internet romantics are falling prey to global drug cartels and are finding themselves facing the death penalty after being caught up in scams. A new international organisation called MULE has been set up to expose the cons for what they are. Lawyer Craig Tuck is involved in 3 death penalty cases at the moment in Indonesia and China and is part of this group. He joins me now. Craig, thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
How common is this now?
Well, it's difficult to say, Paul, but what we're looking at is across the planet really reports of drug trafficking involving vulnerable people ending up on the receiving end of some pretty harsh penalties, including the death penalty. So at the moment as a group, and that includes quite a diverse bunch of people, lawyers, media people, psychiatrists, psychologists, and a number of victims to sort of ascertain exactly what's going on. The way that the cartels are operating, given the complexity that often the brains of the operation will be in one jurisdiction, the operational platform will be in another, the victim potentially is in another, and then the transporting across various countries. So it's quite complex to get a very accurate picture of what's going on and what the end result is in terms of actual crime.
Okay, Craig, so it's very hard to tell how common it is, but you have certainly noticed an increase in these cases lately. Would it be fair to say that this is now a quite common modus operandi for these drug cartels?
Oh, absolutely. And what we're seeing is an uptake of I guess the social media, where relationship building, if you like, where there's recruitment going on the internet. The relationship is being built over some months, and then that relationship builder is transferring the responsibility of the victim or target to another person in another jurisdiction.
Okay, so these drug traffickers, these cartels are sort of infiltrating these sort of foreign dating sites, things like that, creating fake people, obviously, and luring gullible people overseas.
Well, people with needs that they've identified. So there are a number of specific groups looking at this. One of them is involved in MULE. It really is, I guess, a matter of targeting people that can form part of a supply chain, a dirty supply chain, and really using, the numbers game. For instance, in Tony DeMelmatch, we thought there was probably about 100 mules being run there. He was one of them. And then using those people downline. So with a numbers game of 100, perhaps they're getting successful with 7 to 10. They might be contacting initially thousands, but obviously the profit of running a drug mule in a death penalty jurisdiction is significant. And
let's talk about some of those areas, because obviously it is accepted around the world now that this is going on, and that these people are, to all intents and purposes, gullible rather than guilty, if you know what I mean. Is there any indication that these authorities and these jurisdictions actually recognise that this is an issue and may potentially be a mitigating circumstance?
Well, it depends on the jurisdiction, but if we look at the big picture, often the cartels are so well resourced and so well integrated into potentially the criminal justice system, and the end outcomes, including, for instance, we had a colleague at a death penalty, where a death penalty was imposed, and there were 5 medical teams waiting for the body to drop. So it's a sort of top to bottom. There's lots of people involved in what happens to the mule. And I guess it's looking at the degree of involvement by the authorities in terms of their motivation, whether or not they're interested in actually tackling the drug cartels. They may be invested in them, who knows? But the simple reality is, I guess what we're seeing is the mule is the absolute bottom of the food chain. The cartels are running across the planet now, hugely resourced, great profit margin, and are well integrated into the various jurisdictions that they're operating in.
And I'm assuming there is no shortage of potential victims for them to prey on the internet. Just very quickly, Craig, how is DeMelmatch getting on in jail? How is he coping?
Well, he's trying to contribute something back to the jail at the moment. I communicate with him most weeks, and really what he's trying to do now is provide some support and ongoing assistance to other prisoners, which is superb. Yeah.
That is superb, and actually, I was just going to say, Craig, that is superb, and I guess that would play into his hands as well. Emotionally, that would be very good for him to be able to concentrate on something like that.
That's right. I mean, whatever situation you're in, you're grateful and you're trying to give back, and it pays dividends. We've got an appeal running for him, but at the moment he's doing all he can to contribute to others whilst in jail.
Craig, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck with that appeal too. Craig Tuck, lawyer. And this is definitely an issue that is going to have to be addressed.